Briefing note. Video files lifted from Jesse the Reader's personal palm pad. Video journal transcription prepared by analyst ID 53773436743JTR.
What up, Reader fam? Today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts, opinions, and feels on the Illuminae Files trilogy, which consists of Book 1, Illuminae, Book 2, Gemina, and Book 3, Obsidio. The Illuminae Files is a YA sci-fi trilogy written by author duo Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is going to be a spoiler-free video, but if you want to watch it after you finish the trilogy, I totally understand that too, especially if you're someone who thinks everything is a spoiler. Like if I undress this book and you're screaming SPOILER at the screen right now, then you should probably not watch this video. I will say before I get into my thoughts that I highly recommend checking out this trilogy. I think it's incredible. I wouldn't put it on my all-time favorite series list because it just doesn't hit that, but I still really love it. I was satisfied from beginning to middle to end, and it's one that I can definitely recommend checking out. Though I do want to say that I don't think that these books are for everyone, and I'll explain my reasoning for that later on. First up, let's talk about what these books are all about. We start our wild space journey in Book 1, Illuminae, and the year is 2575. We've got two characters, Katie and Ezra, and they were in a relationship, but they've just broken up. And it basically caused a war and they have to flee their planet. Wait a second, let me backtrack a little bit. Their breakup is not the cause of the war. But these big ol' honcho, macho, mega corporations are having a bit of a tiff. They are not getting along, which is the cause of the war. So they're battling it out. And that's only the kickoff of the story. Things go from bad to worse real quick. What comes next is a deadly virus sets out to kill them all. Next up, we have Book 2, and this takes place right after Illuminae, and we follow the aftermath of the events of Illuminae. And in this book, we follow two new characters. First up, we have Hannah, who is the daughter of the station's captain, and then we've got Nick, who is a part of a family who is heavily involved in crime. Nick and Hannah are two very different characters, but they're thrown together and have to work together when their station is invaded by an elite Baytech strike team. Finally, we have Book 3, Obsidio, which honestly, what can I say about this book without spoiling it? This book is where everything comes to this ultimate climax. And I honestly don't think I can say anything else other than heartache, madness, and pain. That about sums this up, honestly. This trilogy came into the world and really shook up the normal book format, which is something that I was so ready for with Book 1. The story is documented through emails, chats, surveillance recordings, transcripts, graphics, and illustrations. In fact, in Book 2 and 3, author Marie Lu, known for the Legend trilogy, was responsible for the illustrations. While I personally do love the format, I know that it can also be the cause of a major disconnect for some readers, and I'll admit I even struggled with it in the first book. It took some adjusting, and you really have to get comfortable with the rhythm and flow of the storytelling because it is told in such a different way. It can even cause a bit of disconnect with the characters because you're getting to know them in a way that's different than normal books, so you gotta work a little bit harder to get to know them. I think something that helped me is that I started to visualize the story in my mind as a documentary, which technically that is what it is. It's a documentation of what's happened. It's just in book format. And if you just can't deal with the format of the book, I might suggest checking out the audiobook format. I didn't listen to the audiobooks when I read this trilogy, but I've heard a decent amount of the audiobooks to know that they really put in a lot of thought into making the audiobooks equally as unique as the book itself is. To me, the audiobooks really give off kind of a radio show vibe. You've got all these cool and crazy sound effects along with a full cast of narrators. Now let's talk about the plot. The plot is definitely my favorite thing with each of these books. Each of the books have incredible plot lines, and my personal favorite is Book 2 because Book 2 just blew my mind, which I know might be a little dramatic to put it that way, but I was seriously reeling over the events that take place over Book 2. I do have some complaints with Book 1 and Book 3 when it comes to pacing. I just had a hard time sinking myself into both of those stories. I would say more so with Book 3, honestly. There were two sections that I felt were overly slow and I felt like could really get to the point a lot faster. I personally would have gone in there and done some tightening to some scenes, or even taken out some scenes in order to keep the story moving smoothly. Get in there with some scissors and do some snipping. I will say though that this could be something that I just was doing and I was unaware of, where I was just moving through the story like a freaking turtle because I just didn't want it to end. But I also kind of felt like the story was choppy at times. I will give Obsidio the benefit of the doubt though, because I do know that it was setting up the stepping stones to propel the story to the ending. That does not mean that Obsidio was any less action-packed, thrilling, or heart-wrenching like the other two were. In fact, in some cases I feel like Book 3 was was even more heart-wrenching than the other two. But those are all things that you will get with this trilogy. It will surprise you. It'll have you saying 3 different versions of the word what as you're reading it.
What? What? What?
Something that I do struggle with this trilogy with is not fully understanding some of the terminology that's mentioned throughout it. And that can be frustrating for someone like me who is very visual and likes to be able to create this really vivid image of what everything looks like in the book. And I know I could probably do some Googling while I'm reading, but I'm kind of lazy, okay? While we do have a pretty big cast of characters, book 1 and book 2 kind of zone in on certain characters, while in book 3 we kind of follow a bigger cast of characters. For me, while I do find the characterization in these stories to be incredible, and I do really enjoy the characters a lot, I don't necessarily read the books for the characters alone. I mostly love this trilogy for the intense and exciting plots that they continue to deliver. That's not to say that I hate the characters, because I don't. In fact, I would say I've got some mad love for some of them. I'm just more so drawn to these books for the plot alone, which is really surprising for me because I'm usually someone who goes into books excited to read about the characters. But I guess with each of these books, I just found myself so impressed with the plot. All in all, if you are looking for a sci-fi trilogy to give a go, I would definitely recommend checking out the Illuminae Files trilogy. I gave Illuminae a 4 out of 5 stars, I gave Gemina a 5 out of 5 stars, and I gave Obsidio a 4 out of 5 stars. Especially if you're new to the sci-fi genre, because I'm a newbie too, and these were great starter books for me. Though I'm sure some sci-fi pro might disagree with me here, I'll stand by my opinion that I think that these are great starter books for people who are looking to get into the sci-fi genre. Those are all my thoughts, opinions, and feels on the Illuminae Files trilogy. Let me know down below if you have read this trilogy and what you thought of it, or if you haven't read it yet, but you're considering checking it out. Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I post videos frequently on this channel, so if you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe, or go and click the little bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, choo!